GTM podcast, Buddhist knowledge, blessing for Appendix, illustrative examples. Hello everyone, we have come to the Appendix part of the blessing for, in which there are many stories to be giving example for you to learn and see the importance of amenable location. On the first story, it is about the metaphor of bonsai Bodhi tree. It is said that if you plant a tree in a fertile soil, it will grow until it is many meters in the diameter. If you take the same tree and plant it in a flower pot or a barrel, it will end up as a root-bound bonsai tree instead. If it is watered and carefully tended for several generations, it will never grow higher than a few inches. Asked why a 1,000-year-old tree reached only a few inches in height, we come back to the conclusion that it has been planted in an unamenable location. Even though it doesn't grow tall, it doesn't die. For the second example, it is the story of how the sake was established. The story goes that when King Pasenadi wanted to build a new city of Saketu in the time of the Lord Buddha, he sent a letter to King Bimbisara to ask for permission to move one of the patrons from that kingdom to live in the new city. King Bimbisara sent Visaka's father as a patron to the new city. Before long, the patron got all the finance of the city properly organized, and Saketu became one of the most prosperous city-states in India at that time. This goes to show that an amenable city doesn't just consist of buildings, but it needs the presence of amenable neighbors such as benefactors and patrons. In the third example, it is the story of Arya the fisherman. Even though some people in the time of the Lord Buddha had no worldly knowledge, they were completely illiterate and were of the lowest traits, but they had the good fortune to be born in a amenable location, especially in the same time and same place as the Buddha, and because of this fact alone, were able to attain enlightenment to the level of a stream enterer or Sotapanna. There was a fisherman called Arya, which means noble one, who lived during the time of the Buddha. As a fisherman, he caught and killed fish every day. One day, in meditation, the Buddha saw Arya's potential to attain the foot of the stream entry, and went with a number of other monks to where Arya was fishing. Seeing the Buddha approaching, Arya became ashamed of his action and hid his fishing line. When the Buddha arrived, while standing in front of the man, he asked Sariputta his name. Sariputta replied Sariputta. The Buddha then proceeded to ask the name of each monk, and overhearing the man wonder whether after asking all the monks' names, the Buddha would ask his. The Buddha knew what he was thinking and asked the man his name. Arya, replied the man. In fact, the Buddha didn't need to be told the man's name. The Buddha gave Arya a teaching that anyone who still harmed other living beings could not be called noble on account of his actions. He said that one's nobility comes from not harming other living beings. Hearing the Buddha's teaching, Arya attained stream entry and from that day onwards, never killed a living being again, having transcended the very intention to kill, in spite of the fact that he was illiterate. He lived in the depth of poverty, but he had one auspicious advantage in his life, and that was to live in a time and place where there was the opportunity to come face to face with the Lord Buddha, and this alone allowed him to become enlightened to the level of a stream enterer. Well, that's quite a story, isn't it? In the next story, which is the story of Kosaka's lifetime as a dog. Another example of a similar phenomenon happened in the time before the Lord Buddha. At that time, the only Buddhas in existence were Pacceka Buddha or Silent Buddha, who, although enlightened, were unable to teach for the benefit of many people. These Silent Buddha came on alms round in the city. Having collected alms, they would return to the forest to take their meal. This would be his normal daily routine. Seeing that the Silent Buddha had to walk such a long way each day, one of the more faithful supporters invited the Silent Buddha to the well nearby his own house and would bring food for the Silent Buddha every morning and mid-meal. Any day when the householder was not free to make the offering himself, he would send his well-trained dog to carry the tiffin set of food to offer to the Silent Buddha at his place. As the dog grew more familiar with the Buddha, it took a liking to him because the deportment and the manner of the Silent Buddha was so gentle. If the dog was at home and failed to mind the firewood for its master, it would be beaten. However, in the dwelling of the Silent Buddha, it was a different story. When the dog came close, he could listen to the chanting of the Silent Buddha. There was no risk of being beaten, and the Buddha would even divide part of the food to give to the dog as well. The dog became more and more familiar with the gentle manner of the Silent Buddha. At the end of the rainy season, the Silent Buddha bid the householder farewell and returned to the forest. The Silent Buddha made his journey by floating through the air. The dog watched the Silent Buddha go with regret and howled as loudly as it could because there was nothing else for it to do. It was a sad farewell for the dog, who still had Silent Buddha on his mind. The dog was so sad that as it came to the end of its howling, it dropped dead. However, as the result of the faith of this dog in the Silent Buddha and from howling at the departure of the Silent Buddha, the dog was reborn immediately as an angel called Gosaka, whose duty was to be a spokesman for the rest of the angels. In the time of the Lord Buddha, Gosaka was reborn in the human realm as Gosaka, the millionaire, and was one of the greatest patrons of Buddhism. The result of living in a amenable location and taking chance to be attendant to the Silent Buddha led him to become an angel on dying from rebirth as a dog and from his rebirth as an angel to be reborn as an important patron of Buddhism. And the last story, which is the story of monk and the 500 bats. Another example comes from the time of previous Buddha. There was a monk who had retired to cave in order to train himself. The monk would rise early each morning and chant the Abhidhamma, which is one of the Buddha's doctrine. The monk shared the cave with 500 bats. During the day, the bats would return to the cave, but at night they would fly outside to feed. Thus the bat would hear the chanting of the Abhidhamma every day, even though the bat has no way of knowing the meaning of the chanting. They became familiar with the sound of the monks chanting and become inspired with faith. When it came to time for the bats to pass away, they died with faith in their hearts and were all reborn as angels. Passing away from their existence as an angel, they were reborn as a man in time of the present Buddha. All 500 men became ordained as monks and hearing the chanting of Abhidhamma only once, unlike normal people who might remain indifferent to the chanting, could remember the words of Abhidhamma which were still impressed in their minds from that previous lifetime, and recollecting the words of the Abhidhamma were soon able to become enlightened as Arahants, which is the highest form of enlightenment. Thus, it is easy to see that simply living in a amenable location is not just advantage for people. Even lowly animals can experience the benefits. And so everyone, from these 5 stories that's mentioned in here, I think you can see now that finding suitable location or amenable location is important in our spiritual growth and to improve the quality of our mind as well. So that's if you are gonna build your house or choosing a place to live, make sure you can use this knowledge that you learn from Blessing 4 to be part of your consideration. In the next episode, we will begin with our Blessing 5, having done good deeds in one's past. How does it relate and connect to amenable location and blessing of our life? We will continue that in the next episode. If you like the program, don't forget to subscribe, like and share to supporting us. And if you follow us on YouTube, don't forget to press the bell to get notification every time when our new update is posted. See you again in our next podcast.